DHS boot camp this week. Welcome, welcome. So today's topic is content of record. So I'm going to share my screen. Oops, not that one. Oops, put it over there. Oops, sorry. All right, present. There we go. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay. Content of records. This happens to be regulations 3270-182. This has to do with the child file. Okay, and I want to point out some things. They're real easy to miss when it comes to the child records. So essentially, the regulation says that the child's record has to contain this following information. It has to have those health reports. Health reports are due 60 days from the date of enrollment. So
what about my parents that I've told to get those in, and we're getting past the 60 days? What do I do?
You need to let us know, because we can put the some pressure on them. But you need to cite, and we'll give you some language. You need to cite the regulation that it is required. The nice thing about the health appraisal is that we only need the appraisal from kindergarten or 6th grade. If we have that, we're good to go. But it is required. The next thing is the date of application, admission, and withdrawal of the child. So after we go through these, I'm going to actually show you the forms, and it'll be a little quiz at the end too.
Okay.
This
so
parent,
kindergarten or 6th grade.
Correct, kindergarten or 6th grade.
Okay.
The parent has to sign on the emergency agreement, or emergency contact form. There is a section on there which requires the parent to sign the emergency medical care, the minor first aid, the walks and trips or excursions, swimming, transportation, and wading. Okay. The most critical pieces of that whole section is the emergency medical care and the first aid. Okay. Next thing is that, and we're going to go into this in a later DHS boot camp, is all about accidents and injuries. I have it here just because it happens to be part of the section, but it does require us to report accidents, injuries, and illnesses, and to keep a record of that on file at the site. Depending on the severity of the accident, we also have to report it to DHS. Here's an example. Yesterday, we had an older toddler actually jump off a seesaw, and we thought she just sprained her leg, her foot. It ended up being a break, a really minor break. So in that case, we had to report that to DHS because it required emergency room care. And most likely, they'll follow up with us with a phone call to make sure that everything is okay at the center. The last thing of this section is the copy of the agreement and subsequent written agreements have to be signed, and the original, this is key, the original of that agreement has to be given to the parent. So in other words, at the time of enrollment, the parent has to sign that agreement to indicate what they agree to pay, when they agree to pay it, and they're also checking off some of our policy information, like the parent guide, which they get in the enrollment process. Every 6 months, the parent has to review that agreement and the emergency plan or emergency contact form and sign and date it again.
Right.
They can take those forms. They can, if something's updated, they can put a line through it and put the new information and then sign and date it. But you got to remember that with the agreement, if you're at your 6-month review of that agreement and the parent has signed it, you have to give the original to the parent and make a copy for your file.
So we have to take it. Yeah, because there's no way for me to make a copy.
I know that's the challenge. That is definitely the challenge. Yep. Because if
Somehow, when Mr. Ross is there, he let him make copies.
well, that's good then.
Mhm.
Okay.
So that's 4 days a week.
We get cited for having original agreements in the file. You got to have a copy of it.
Just to clarify, so when they review it at 6 months and sign it again, it now becomes an original?
Correct.
And they have that one back?
Correct.
Mhm.
Yep. Okay. Any questions on this? I'm going to show some examples. Well, I'll keep talking, and as a question comes up, let me know. Okay.
So is my question on that, so is there like a standard procedure then? Do you have the parents sign it on day, today with the expectation that we then give the program director 7 days to give it back to them, find a time during the week to make a copy for yourself and then give the original back a week later?
So it's really been up to the site director to do that and to start that process before you actually hit the 6-month point to allow for those situations which occur. So in most cases, you can literally get with, as a parent is coming up to pick up their child, you can actually have the parent review that form right then and there. It only takes a minute.
Right.
And in the majority of the cases, there really hasn't been much change, which is fine. They just have to sign and date it then, which only takes 30 seconds. But then you have to actually take the form from the site to make a copy and make sure that the form gets back onto the site before you're the next time you're operating. That's the challenge. Okay. So I'm going to show you. Going to show you, here is an emergency contact form. Okay. And you can see I've didacted it to maintain the confidentiality. But here's the emergency contact form. You can see where the parent has filled out information. It is critical that every field be addressed on this form. So I'm going to I'll scroll down slowly, and you tell me if you can identify and let me know what's missing on this form. Okay?
Code, address.
Okay. So I'm going to scroll down. Speak up. If something's missing, say it.
All these are blank.
What?
So they have to be
What's blank?
the zip code, the
Uh-huh.
city, the state, the zip code,
Yep.
the street address, city, state, zip code.
Yep.
That insurance information is there.
Yep.
The signature is there.
Signatures are there. Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay.
Well done. Okay. So this form, there's a point in time when the business office manager is actually collecting this form along with the other documents, the agreement, and attempting to get the physical, the health appraisal. But there's a point in time when these documents are going to leave the business manager's hands and they're going to come to you. You now take control of these forms. So if something's missing, you have to get it.
So I have a question.
Mhm.
Obviously, we're too far gone now, but why wouldn't we just not let the kids start until all of their forms are fully filled out?
So the one requirement that DHS absolutely says we have to start for a child is the emergency contact form and the agreement.
Mhm.
So we have it. We actually have it. It's just missing because parents take shortcuts. They take shortcuts all the time. So Tina and Jen chase these parents constantly trying to get the missing information. And it gets to the point where you make a decision, the child has to be in care because school started. We have basic information. We just got to get the missing information.
Mhm.
So we've tried to say, no, you can't start. In many cases we have. If we don't have anything, we are telling the parent, you can't start until we have the paperwork. But sometimes I think we have a couple situations out there now where a parent just sends their kid and we don't have paperwork on that child. So directors, you really need to make sure that you've got files for all your kiddos and make sure this form is complete. Okay, so good job on identifying what's missing. So now here's the next question. I'm going to have you take a look at this again. Notice the emergency contact people and the persons with whom the child can be released section. See those two sections down there? It has 3 people in the emergency contact field, and it has 2 people in the section where to people to whom the child can be released. Catch that? Okay. All right. So now I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to show you the agreement. Here's the agreement. Here too, we have to have the arrival time and departure time. Why do you think that's important to have? Anybody? Why do you think it's important to have the arrival time and departure time?
For ratios.
Yes, so you can schedule your staff and maintain ratio. Absolutely. This form, and if you've noticed, it has been revised as of the last 3 days. We were cited, believe it or not, this original this form did not have this payment day on it. And we were cited at one of our sites for not having that on the form. So we have now gone back and updated this form to include that payment day, because like the regs say, parents have to indicate that they're agreeing to pay on a certain day. They also have to agree as to the amount they're paying, and that's why these amounts are here. Okay. So this agreement also has the section persons other than the parent guardian to whom the child may be released to. And see those 2 names down there? Okay, do you see them? Now here's a big question. Do they match the names on the emergency contact form? That's a question. Do they? Can you tell?
Are they supposed to match
Yes.
the emergency contacts or who the child can be released?
Whom the child can be released. Okay, let me say that again. The names on the emergency contact form in the section that let us know who the people are that the child can be released to have to match the names on the agreement in that section.
And they do.
And they do. We were just cited on a form that it didn't match. That just happened.
And are there 3 spots on that other sheet or only 2 options?
So back to the emergency contact form. Okay. They have this person. Oops.
So the NA is their third on both.
They have Gildan, Oliver, and they have an NA on the third person.
Okay.
See that?
Matches.
Okay. Yep. And so down on the agreement now, we have Gildan and Oliver and NA. So it matches. Here you have the date of admission. Right here, date of admission. And it also has the date of withdrawal. So when a child withdraws from the program, we're supposed to indicate the withdrawal. The interesting thing about that is that when a child withdraws, we're usually just pulling the file to get them out of circulation. You can see on both these forms, there's that 6-month review line down here, 6-month review and the date. So you got to know, in order to determine the 6-month date, you got to have this admission date down on the agreement. So 6 months from this 11/22/21, you've got to have an updated signature and date. In this case, the parent just signed that section already, and that's okay. We're just going to have the parent sign again in 6 months. Okay, so that's important to know, the admission date. The other thing is that on the agreement form, you also want to make sure that the operator has signed this as well. This is usually the business manager has signed the agreement, but if it's missing, they're human. Just sign it. Okay. And it does require as I'm looking at this, what's missing from this signature section?
The date.
The date. Yep. So the parent did not sign it at the date of the initial enrollment. So we need to get it right here. Questions? That was a lot of detail.
Been through this a couple of times, so I'm like, well,
Renee's becoming a pro. All righty. Any questions, comments, anything that I can help answer or address? Okie dokie. Well, thank you for joining me today and have a lovely afternoon. I'm going to stop the recording.
And a great weekend.
Thank you.